Hey everyone, so if you remember about 6 months ago, me and my sister made a Vampire Diaries discussion video where we talked about the first 3 seasons. We did actually film an entire video, which was like an hour and 20 minutes long, talking about the entirety, all 8 seasons. But for some reason my editing software at the time wouldn't upload the entire thing to YouTube for some reason, so I had to cut it in half. I was going to put the first 3 seasons in one and then the rest in another video, but for some reason that just didn't work. So here's the rest of it. Hope you enjoy. By the way, if the audio seems a bit crappy, it's mainly because I filmed this video before I had my microphone, so if anything feels out of place compared to what I do now, that is mainly because it's an old video. Alright then, enjoy. So now we're going to move on to season 4. This season was the one that had the heavy focus on the cure for vampirism.
Yeah, that quite shocked me, because nobody thought there would be a cure. Nobody knew about a cure. There wasn't such a thing as a cure. For what we knew of anyway, until they start going to college, really.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna get into something which I accidentally said in season 3, but we had to cut that part out. One of my favourite scenes in this entire thing was when the love triangle between Elena and the Salvatore brothers started. Now we can actually talk about this.
Yes.
Rebecca had Caroline, Stefan, and Elena in a room in Mystic Falls High School. I said it right that time.
Yeah,
Mystic Falls.
the library.
Yeah, that's it. The library, and Rebecca had them all compelled to tell each other shit, and then Rebecca says like, "Tell the truth, Elena. Do you still love Stefan?" She said no, and then Stefan just sort of walked off and says, "How many more times can you tear my heart out?" It was just riveting stuff.
And she was just like, "I'm sorry," and he's just like, "Do you know what, bitch? I ain't having it."
I mean, Elena, she's such. I don't know how to describe it. She's a really like shitty character, but she has moments where she could be likeable, but other moments where you just feel like like snapping her neck.
Yeah, and I think as well, the whole thing came about because she turned into a vampire. Even though she chose Stefan, she was coming home to Stefan when she inevitably drowned. The whole thing was that she loved Stefan, but she wasn't in love with him anymore.
Is this a season of the Sire Bond as well?
It is.
Oh, okay.
So that's why Rebecca was like, "Oh, come on, fess up." And Elena's like, "I didn't sleep with Damon because of the Sire Bond. I slept with him because I'm in love with him." And Stefan's there like...
Okay. Another weird thing is that, the more I talk about this show, the more I start to remember it, because it's been months since we finished Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
Since then I've watched a bunch of other shows, and my memory sort of fades for the ones that I watched before, but the more I talk about it, the more it comes back to me.
Yeah.
So what really gutted me, this was like a knife to the heart, guys. It was like when Jeremy died.
He actually died this time, though.
He actually died this time. Poor cop block Jezza.
So obviously this was in their hunt for the cure. Jeremy is basically found out to be a hunter, as in a vampire hunter, in which he grows a mark for every vampire he kills, which ultimately leads to the cure, which is on an island. But
I don't know, then buried with probably the most powerful. What is Silas again? Actually, is he?
he's a witch.
A warlock. Is it a warlock?
Well, they can call him witch warlock.
Or he's the most powerful warlock in the world, and the cure is buried with him.
He was also... You find it at the end of the season, so I don't really want to say yes yet, unless I'm allowed to.
Oh yeah, there's full spoilers in this video anyway. I'm going to already put a warning at the start of it.
That's fine. Silas is the first doppelganger...
That's it, yes.
...of Stefan.
Which you do find out at the very end of this season.
When he locks Stefan in kind of like a safe and throws him in a river, which he spends the whole 3 months of a summer in there.
Yeah, sort of coming back to life, drowning and dying all over again. We'll dive into that into season 5, but at the moment, when Silas first showed up and he cracks that that really scary line like hello my shadow self, I couldn't believe that this all-powerful Silas. I mean, Silas is so powerful, he even scared Klaus.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because he's such the manipulator. He gets into your head. Like, vampires can compel all they want, But that's nothing compared to what Silas does. Silas can make you feel like you've got something stuck in you when you don't. Klaus thought he was in agony. He thought he had a shard of the white oak steak in him.
And he never did he?
And he never did.
It was just
Caroline was searching for it for ages before he clocked that it wasn't there. It wasn't right. But that's the whole thing. That's what they unleashed to get the cure.
Yeah, exactly. And
so Jeremy basically, Jeremy's blood fed Silas, and then Silas broke his neck.
Yeah, which was
very disturbing.
Honestly, it was one of the saddest scenes which I've seen in the show so far. I mean, I already cried like so many times during this, and I'm a 27-year-old guy. I'm coming 28, and this show got me right in the heart.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great things about this show. The fact that Bonnie's learning expression magic now because obviously she was stripped of her magic at the end of season 2, I believe. And now she's trying to get it back with the help of Dr. or Professor Shane, whatever the guy's name is.
Yeah, Professor Shane. He took over the occult studies, which is what her grams used to teach at the college.
Right.
But obviously, there feels like two sides to this expression. They're like, what really is it? What does it mean? And stuff like that. Her grams is warning her to stay away from it, but she can't help it because she wants magic. She wants to feel the power. The only thing with expression magic, it comes from sacrificial acts.
Oh, I getcha.
Which is why they did the 3 sacrifices. The 3 sacrifices of 12. Klaus killed 12 of his hybrids.
Oh, yeah. Was this
Pastor Young blew up 12 council members.
Pastor Young, that's the guy. That's the guy. I was about to mention his name and I couldn't remember what it was.
Caroline killed 12 witches. Well, by accident, they were linked, so technically she only killed one.
Didn't she kill one witch to try and save someone else? I mean, who was she trying to save again?
She was trying to save Bonnie.
That's it, Bonnie. Yes.
They were hurting Bonnie
to try.
They were basically trying to strip her of expression, but in doing so, was hurting her. So Caroline kind of snapped the neck of one of the witches, but they were all linked, so they all bloody died.
Oh.
And hence completed what was called the expression triangle.
And one more point I'm going to get before we move on to season 5 is when Elena eventually switches her emotions off for the first time.
Because Jeremy's dead.
She couldn't cope. Because she's lost all of her family. It is really an irritating process and it's a really long drag. Maybe if they just had it for like
a couple of episodes.
Maybe 2 or 3 episodes at the most, but they dragged it on for about maybe 5 to 6 episodes. It was absolutely crazy. And it got really annoying.
It was really repetitive. I don't know what it was, but her character normally pisses me off, but that just pisses me off even more.
She nearly stabbed Caroline in the heart.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of whether or not you're motionless or anything like that, you don't do that. Like, not even Stefan did that, and he was a bloody ripper when he had no emotion.
Yeah, he never actually tried to kill any of his friends, did he?
No, and that's the thing as well. When they go looking for Catherine, because Catherine's actually the one that stole the cure.
Yeah, she is,
If we sneak that in there. Catherine's the one that actually kind of helped in the fact that Jeremy died, because she force-fed him to Silas, while she snuck
Catherine,
off with the
baddest
cure.
Bitch of all.
Yeah, but obviously she was having a relationship with Elijah.
Yeah, she was, because
in a town.
I think I remember Elijah tried to kiss Elena, thinking that she was
Catherine. But soon found out that it wasn't, because he could tell.
Oh, this reminds me of the moment that when Catherine went up behind Elena and snapped her neck. It was like
genius.
a huge. It was like a huge moment of satisfaction. Like, oh, boom.
But also, this is what annoyed me about that kind of scene as well. Like, Elijah's like, there's something different about you. You've abandoned your emotions. And she's there like, my brother died. That's acting like she cared. If that makes sense. So I think she always had a little piece of emotion there.
And personally, if I thought that there wasn't anything there, she probably just would have said, yeah, what's it to you?
But in order to turn it back on, they threatened to kill Matt. Yeah, and they actually did kill Matt.
Yeah, luckily he had, I think...
He had his ring on.
A ring on. What's the ring called?
The Gilbert ring.
Yes, that's it. It's basically the Gilbert ring. If you don't know what it is, if you're wearing it and you die, you come back to life.
Only if you're human, though.
Right then, this video is extremely long, so we're going to move on to season 5, everybody. This is by far probably the worst season in the show. It's not bad, but it's a huge downgrade from what we've already had.
I think it feels like there's a lot going on, and it's like there's different stories to it, but it doesn't feel that good, especially when you find that the main baddie is a bit bland.
Yeah, Marcos,
it's a bit like
the leader.
watching paint dry.
Well, I wouldn't say it's like that bad.
Okay,
but
maybe I'm just harsh.
No, actually, maybe you're right. Marcos is the leader of a cult group called the Travellers.
Who they brought back to life. They brought him back to life.
They brought him back to life, and for some reason he's just not what we've had before. I mean, we've had Catherine, we've had Klaus, we've had Silas. They've all been great villains, and then we got Marcos, and he's just bland. For
he's
some
just
reason,
a witch.
At this point, I felt that the writers were running out of ideas, but then they sort of redeemed it slightly with a subplot about Augustine vampires, and obviously one of my favourite characters, Enzo St. John.
Yeah, I love Enzo. So Enzo's basically been kidnapped, and he, 50 to 70 years ago? And we actually find out that he was friends with Damon, but when they kind of figured out a way to escape, Damon had to turn off his emotions in order to survive, and he left Enzo thinking he died, and Enzo actually was still there. And do you know what? He's such a great character. Like,
it's deep. I mean, Enzo's development is like fantastic throughout the show. Like,
yeah.
At first, when Enzo appeared in season 6, you're just like, why is this guy even still here? Like, what
5.
is? Well, yeah, he was in 5, but he was also in season 6, and I thought, why is Enzo still here? I thought he fulfilled his purpose.
You don't think he's that prominent until you're like, oh, yeah, definitely.
I actually like this guy.
We want Enzo here. Like,
he's funny.
You find out so much more about him. Like, it's not even just the fact that he was friends with Damon. You find out more about his past, how he became a vampire, and all this. But yeah, it's just great because that's just happening right at their college. Like, you're like, what the hell's going on at this college? Why is it so messed up? First, you got Professor Shane teaching weird magic, finding cures for vampirism, and by the way, he dies. And 2,
that's straight to the point. By the way, he dies.
And then 2, you find out they're experimenting on vampires by cutting them open and taking out organs and
doing weird
sciencey
shit on them. Like, I think Augustine Vampires was the most interesting subplot of the season. Although overall it was a big focus on the Travellers.
Yeah.
And obviously the start of the season was about Silas, but that only lasted for a couple of episodes until eventually, what the hell happened to him again? How did they stop him?
He ended up in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, because he thought he was at a bus stop in Delaware, and he's like, "You're in Philly, dude."
He eventually died. He took the cure from Catherine.
Wait, he actually took the cure, as in took the cure and became mortal?
He absorbed the cure for Catherine. So if you didn't realise, Catherine and Elena got into this big fight in school, and eventually, Elena kicked her ass, even though that should not be possible, because let's face it, Elena's crap.
Come on, let's face it. Elena got lucky. She Catherine put her foot wrong, and she shoved the cure down Catherine's throat.
So Catherine's human, basically, and is kind of... The cure gets extracted from her by Silas. So Silas wants to be with Amara. And if you don't know, Amara is the first doppelganger of
Also played by
Elena.
Nina Dobrev. And Nina Dobrev plays 3 characters in this series. Catherine, Elena and Amara.
Yes. But obviously this is what they were kind of saying, that the doppelgangers are fated together and all that kind of malarkey, if you believe in fate.
It's a very British thing to say, malarkey.
I am British, so it makes
well, we
sense.
both are.
But then Catherine basically is a traveller, and she meets her daughter Nadia. Nadia teaches her a spell so that Catherine can put herself into Elena. Then she spends like 5 episodes being Elena before they figure it out, stab her with the traveller knife, she gets sucked into hell. And we're like, bye-bye, Catherine. We're like, well, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw that, obviously, everyone else this is a full spoiler podcast by now. Catherine does eventually return, but when she got sucked into hell, I was actually gutted. I would rather Elena get sucked into hell because Catherine was one of my favourite characters.
Yeah.
But it's just it was great to see her again anyway. But what I loved most about this season in particular, it was kind of the start of, Steroline, Stefan and Caroline developing some kind of relationship.
Yes.
It was really slow building, and it took them forever to get together eventually.
That's because Stefan's like a sucker for feelings. Caroline knew what she wanted.
He's a sucker for you.
But basically, in the end, the Travellers made a magic dome over Mystic Falls, so anything like a vampire walked through, they'd be stripped
anything supernatural
of their magic power, like magic, and would turn back into like the way they died.
Before. Yeah, I mean,
but because they were dead.
Didn't that happen with Tyler? Didn't Tyler lose like his hybrid form?
Yes, so in the end he turned back into a werewolf.
Which then again in season 6, when he met Liv, like Liv had to. Ooh, okay, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. But so basically, it'd strip them of their powers. So like, if Elena went across the border, for example, she'd be stripped back to her human form. But the last time she was human, she was drowning, so she would have drowned again.
She would have died. Yeah,
she would have died. So
and she'd be dead. They
couldn't go back to Mystic Falls. But a lot of people were dying and going to the other side, but the other side was collapsing. So basically what they did was they decided to drive Damon's car into the Mystic Grill and blow all of the Travellers up, and then use that power for Bonnie to absorb them all back to the other side.
And of course, at the end of the season, we see like the return of Alaric. He walks back through sort of the barrier between the other side and the real world.
They use Bonnie as a... She's the anchor.
The anchor, that's the anchor.
The anchor because of Ketsia, who was Silas's supposed wife, but then he chose to betray her and bonk Amara instead.
God, what a tongue twister, Ketsia.
Yeah, but Silas basically screwed her over, so she basically went,
Yeah, that's it. So obviously season 5 was a bit of a letdown, but obviously it set up some brilliant arcs for the seasons to come, including at the start of season 6 now, everybody, we have Damon and Bonnie developing some kind of friendship, and these are probably some of the most sweetest moments you see in the entire show. Like 2 characters that have been built up not to like each other for 5 straight seasons, and in the 6th season they finally develop some kind of friendship.
Yeah.
And start caring for each other.
And that's basically because when Bonnie was being an anchor, she knew that when the other side collapsed, she'd die. So she managed to get people like Alaric back through, Enzo back through, Jeremy back through, and she got to Damon and Luke, one of the Parker twins.
Yes, yeah.
Stopped Liv from doing the spell.
Coven.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they couldn't do it. They couldn't. So they found themselves thinking they might be in hell, or Damon's version of hell, because they were in 1994. Turns out they're in a prison world, which is made by Gemini Covens.
Yeah, and this is one of the most interesting concepts of the show to me, these prison worlds.
Yes.
These prison worlds are developed mainly to lock up at least one prisoner, and obviously in the prison world that Damon and Bonnie are stuck in, they probably... Well, they lock up probably my second favourite villain of the entire thing, and that's Kai.
Malachi Parker.
The guy is just hilarious. He reminds me of some kind of CW version of the Joker. Like, he's just crazy. Like, he finds like death and inflicting harm on people hilarious. It's funny to him. He's
the literal definition of a psychopath. And obviously it kind of all comes together why we need to know about Kai, why we need to know about the Gemini Coven. So the Gemini Coven, if you know by the name of Gemini, means twins.
Twins.
So Liv and Luke obviously were twins. And then you meet Joe, who's a love interest for Alaric. Alaric's actually come back as still a vampire.
He eventually became human. Did he cross
crossed
the
the
barrier?
border.
That's it. Alaric crossed the border. Became human again.
They crashed a car across the border, but then Joe saved him using normal medical stuff because she's a doctor.
Oh, a normal medical procedure, yes.
Because that means he was stripped of his vampirism ability, because that's done through magic. But she saved him as a human, so he turned back human, even though he'd already made Elena forget about Damon because everybody thought he was dead.
Oh God, yes. Oh, this was one of the most.
This was heart-wrenching.
It was kind of like Elena eventually got her memories back, but it was like really sweet just seeing them bond again, and how like Damon was trying.
Yeah, he was trying so hard to kind of
just trigger
show
something.
that he loved her. Like,
because the last thing, because Alaric made Elena forget through compulsion, from the point all the way back in probably season
3
when Damon broke Jeremy's neck. He had the Gilbert ring on, so he didn't die, but he broke Jeremy's neck out of pure like anger or hate or something like that.
Yeah, because she said it'd always be Stefan, but actually you find that obviously Alaric's struggling to get Elena to figure out the point in which she fell in love with Damon, because that's the point that Alaric needed to erase. And then obviously Caroline's like, oh, we all know this, and she just doesn't want to say it's because she fell in love with Damon while she was still with Stefan. It was on her birthday when he gave her vervain necklace back, which she thought she'd lost, which was a memento from Stefan in season 1.
You see, this is the great bit about having like a sister that's binge watched these seasons over and over again. No, you carry on. If I was doing this podcast on my own, I probably would have finished it in 10 minutes. Because I wouldn't remember this many points.
Yeah, I just think it's...
So, this season has pretty much everything you want. It has great character bonding moments. It has Gemini Covens. It has Siphoners. It has...
weird twin things. Sorry, I thought... And there's plenty of great character dynamics and everything like that. And I think as well, the most important thing is to know is Kai is in that prison world because his own family put there. So if you remember me saying weird twin things, Joe is Kai's twin, and are the older brother and sister of Liv and Luke. But obviously they try and trap Kai in the prison world, so Bonnie actually sends Damon back before herself, and then Kai buggers off, like out of the prison world with the Ascendant, with a bit of Bonnie's blood, and then Bonnie's left there for like ages, and then she tries to commit suicide.
She does,
on her birthday.
What was that thing where so I think it was Damon and Elena were sort of there, but they weren't, to try and send Bonnie some kind of message?
It's because
was it through the Ascendant or whatever that piece?
They were using the Ascendant and Liv or Luke.
I think
it's Gemini magic.
I think it was Liv.
But she wasn't strong enough to send her.
Obviously, Liv temporarily was sort of a witch replacement for Bonnie, like. Purposely, at first I thought her character was a little forced until they brought in the old Gemini Coven backstory. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, so basically with the Gemini Covens, the twins have to merge.
Yeah, and the strongest one lives and the weakest dies.
Yeah, but they kind of say it's like absorbed. So if we were twins and you were stronger than me, you'd absorb traits of me.
Yes, because eventually Kai merged with
Luke. Who he shouldn't have.
He shouldn't have, and then Kai had some traits of Luke, which is sympathy,
empathy,
and stuff like that.
Pride.
And obviously tried to get Bonnie's trust, but it obviously didn't last long.
No, it didn't.
He's Kai, after all.
Yeah, and obviously one of the saddest things is that Joe and Alaric actually partially get married before.
Yeah, this is really sad. I mean,
Kai comes back and rips her heart out pretty much.
He does, yeah. I mean, Kai absolutely ruined Alaric's funeral, and that I really felt wedding. Kai ruined his wedding, and I personally felt for the character. I mean, this is one thing me and Chelsea do disagree on. Is that I thought Joe's and Aloric's relationship felt a little bit forced. Like they met at the start of the season, they married at the end of the season. But Chelsea sees something in Joe which I don't at the moment. Maybe on rewatch I will.
I don't know what it is. I just love Joe, and let's not forget the fact that she was pregnant with twins.
Oh,
hence
and
the Gemini Coven.
we know how that ended in the end.
Yes, we do, which we can talk about in season 7. But I think a good point to mention in this season is while you've got all this prison world and this Gemini Coven business going on, Caroline's mother is dying of cancer and eventually does die.
This is a really, really sad scene because Liz Falls, as in Caroline's mother, does eventually pass from cancer, and there's nothing anyone can do to change it.
Because vampirism won't cure things like that.
No, it won't.
And do you know what?
If you're perfectly healthy, you'll be fine.
It's just, I think the thing is as well, because Caroline's been actually such a great vampire. Like, she doesn't really kill people. She's got the whole bloodlust thing down. Like, she's better as a vampire as she ever was as a human. Like, she's less controlling. She's less neurotic. She's less kind of Caroline from season 1. She's so far from it. And for that to kind of happen, you can kind of see where it goes, and you can kind of see where it led to. And the fact is, she made the deal of basically going, it's none of your guys' choice, but I'm turning off my emotions for a year.
Yeah, this is what I really
like
about.
And then broke Elena's neck.
Yeah, that was pretty satisfying. Like, she broke Elena's neck through a hug of all things. That's what I like most about Caroline's character. Like, she was the one that kept it in check for so many years, and then eventually she just cracked.
And I'm not even surprised that it's not even just that, it's their relationship and their development. Yeah. The fact is, if you remember in season 1, Caroline and her mother, Liz, were like polar opposites. She was like, oh, whatever, Mum, you're just going to go be police.
Yeah, originally Liz couldn't accept the fact that Caroline was even a vampire, and then eventually they just got past it. It's like beautiful character arcs like that, which keep you invested in the show.
I think that's the thing as well, because she found out her daughter was a vampire. She called in Caroline's dad, and Caroline's dad tried to torture her out of bloodlust, and it doesn't work like that.
That scene made me shudder. It made me feel really uneasy. I was like, please don't do this to poor Caroline.
And I think that's when Liz kind of realised that she's still my daughter, regardless of whether or not she's a vampire, and she seems to have it in check.
So the main points of this show, it's like family, love and commitment, loyalty. It's just great stuff that goes on in this show.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to try and speed up things even more.
Sorry,
Chelsea wants to make one more point.
Sorry. So at the end of season 6, you also realise that Elena is put into a sleep. So she's not in the last 2 seasons.
Yes, that's very true. One thing we did miss. Oh, by the way, Liam sucks. Anyway, so Elena is put into some kind of deep sleep to preserve her life. Her life is now linked to Bonnie's thanks to Kai. By the way, when Damon sort of decapitated Kai's head and you see all the blood everywhere, it's just really...
Oh, that was brilliant. Because
I have a really dark sense of humour, like stuff like that. I just love that sort of stuff.
Because basically Kai died and then he's brought back to life as a heretic, which you'll find out what it is, and then Damon...
A heretic is basically witch/vampire.
Well, it's a siphoner.
No, sorry, siphoner/vampire. A siphoner is basically a kind of witch, but can only gain magic from sucking magic out of someone else.
Or something that's magical.
Or something that has magic.
Because you can't be a witch and a vampire, because witches get their power from nature. But if you were a vampire and I was a siphoner, I could touch you and absorb yours, because you're a vampire from magic. Or I could touch the walls in a magic place. So when we start finding out about the Armory, that's a magical place that he can absorb power from.
The Armory was introduced into season 7, wasn't it? Yes, it is, because we've got it down as bullet points here. Okay, so anyway, we're going to move on to season 7 now. This video is currently probably an hour long. So if anyone actually sits through all of this, I would really appreciate that. So thank you so much if anyone has. So anyway... pretty much opens up with an introduction to Lily, I believe, unless that was the last season. No, it wasn't. I'm sure it was this one.
I think it was a bit of an overlap because Lily's the one that told Kai to put Elena in the sleep.
Yes, Lily was in the last season. She was introduced
yeah.
into season 6, but her main character arcs and her relationship with Stefan and Damon and the rest of the Heretic family is introduced into this one.
Yes.
And personally, this guy here, Julian, is a bastard.
Yeah, he is a horrid person. And, you know, you kind of know that now with vampires, their kind of personalities are emphasised.
Emphasising, is that the word you're looking for?
Emphasised. Can't say it. Emphasised when they turn. So it kind of means that he was an arsehole before he even became a vampire.
Yes, the thing he did, like, obviously back in, like, the God knows whatever, in the past, Stefan was dating a character called Valerie. Now, Valerie is a heretic, but beforehand, her and Stefan were just ordinary people.
She wasn't heretic when they met.
No, they were just vampires, weren't they? Or just people?
No, they were humans.
Just humans.
She was a siphoner, he was human.
And Valerie was pregnant with Stefan's kid, and then Julian made her miscarriage.
By beating her.
By beating her. But the thing is, this guy, there's nothing remotely that powerful about him. He's not an all-powerful hybrid like Klaus. He doesn't have magic powers like Silas. He's just an ordinary vampire.
But he's older, so the older you are, the stronger you are.
Yes, he's older than Stefan and Damon, so there's no way they could overpower him.
And the fact is, like, he made her miscarry, so she committed suicide on the ship to... I think they were going to New York or something.
I think so, yeah.
I think they were going to New York from wherever they were. And that's how she became the first heretic. Because she was a siphoner, Lily used her blood to heal her of injuries. Julian playing it off that she was beaten up by someone else and whatever. And she never told a soul for all that time. And if, just to clear it up, they were in another prison world, the heretics were. The heretics were dangerous, so they were in a prison world. They were in the 1930s prison world.
But then again, this show has a way of introducing new characters, and you know, at first when you watch a TV show and there's like these new characters and there's a heavy focus on them, you're just like, no, I don't care. Just get to the characters that I already know about.
Yeah.
This show has a way of making you care for them. Like, I personally cared for the backstories. I think it was Nora and Mary Louise.
Yeah, let's face it, they were...
Two heretics that fell in love, and...
They were lesbians in a time that it wasn't...
It was frowned upon.
It was really frowned upon. You were stoned if you were, like...
I mean,
known to be a lesbian. But it was not even just that. Obviously, witch covens thought you were an abomination if you were a siphoner, which is one of the reasons why they didn't like Kai. But the main reason is that he's a psychopath.
The guy's just a psychopath. I mean, I'd say Kai is like the Joker of Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as psychotic as the Joker. Or as iconic, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's great stuff.
But,
so this series also introduces the Armory, which is basically...
a magical place.
Basically a magical place where it's sort of a defence against any supernatural being.
It's like there's holding cells for supernatural things. There's supernatural artifacts there. There's vaults to hold supernatural beings and things like that. And I think this is where it introduces Rainy Cruz. And the whole series is 3 years forwards and backwards the whole way through.
Like, it's like the start of the season is like the present, and then eventually Damon feels he can't live without Elena, so he decides to sort of desiccate himself in a coffin for 3 years, and then eventually get fed blood to wake up. But obviously he wanted to wake up when Elena woke up, but Stefan woke him up earlier because Raina was trying to kill him.
Yeah, so basically...
Stefan's marked by her blade.
Raina was after Damon and Stefan just kind of sacrificed himself and...
how much of a good brother he is.
It was all about running away from Raina. So Raina actually is very old. She doesn't look it. she's actually rather pretty. But she is very, very old, and she does hunt vampires by, like, impregnating her blade into them. And they go into this stone, which is called the Phoenix Stone. And it's where they basically relive their hell.
Yes, it does.
Constantly, which is where Julian was.
That's what that one episode with Damon, when it was kind of a time loop episode.
Yeah,
where Damon, it brought him back to the days of when Damon was in war, and Damon had to sort of figure out how to get out the time loop, and in the end, it was sort of to forgive his mother.
Yeah,
because at this point, Lily dies.
Because obviously they all thought Lily died of tuberculosis, but actually it was the fact that she turned into a vampire and she ran off with this new family.
Yeah.
So Damon thinks she's a right bitch. Damon doesn't like her, but he's still seeking her kind of forgiveness or to give himself. But
it was
actually,
just savage. I mean,
even when he gets out, he doesn't give a shite.
No, not really. No, I mean, of course, Damon's just Damon about these things. But Damon, the thing he said to his mother before she died, I mean, you made your bed, now lie in it. I thought, Jesus Christ, this guy is savage.
She just wanted retribution, and obviously Stefan was more than willing to give it to him because he was so young, and I think that was quite naive of Stefan, because I'm not going to lie, if my mum ran off with another bloody family, I'd be pissed at her and all.
I think I would too.
I wouldn't want to forgive her.
Wait, can I just bring back to a point that you mentioned before?
Yes.
Like you said, Raina impregnates her blade. Do you mean impales her blade?
Yeah, that's it. I was kind of thinking like she impregnates it into them because then their soul gets sucked into it.
Yeah, but
that's still the wrong
thing
word.
is, I mean, if you're going to impregnate someone, something has got to go into that person to make a baby. Like, if something's coming out the person and into the blade, that's not impregnating.
You know, impregnate doesn't mean just about babies, right?
Oh, right, okay.
You do realise Harry Potter gets impregnated with the basilisk's poison.
Yes, he does. Beside the point, I'm getting off topic here.
Yes, we are.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, and for me, when the season did do the 3-year time jump, stuff's different. Caroline is pregnant with Alaric's kids because the sort of a magical pass-through Joe went into Caroline, and then
the Gemini Coven.
Two other thing. That's it. The Gemini Coven sort of did it.
The Gemini Coven basically did it as they were all dying. So Liv died, along with.
Yeah,
so basically, she got Tyler to kill her, so that he could survive his injuries from basically an explosion that Kai made at the wedding.
That's the thing. But to me, a lot changed. And obviously Stefan and Valerie are on the run from Raina. They're sort of a thing there as well.
Yeah, and he left Caroline. He left her.
At first, obviously the show has a way of getting you hooked on characters, but since so much was different in just a span of one episode, the series kind of stopped at a halt for me. But it immediately got back on track within an episode or two. I was invested again.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's how different it was, because it's things like Caroline was engaged to Alaric in the 3-year time jump.
That's creepy.
It's not. Stefan and Valerie together, but actually everybody knew that Stefan was still pining over Caroline, but Caroline was like, bitch, you left me, I don't want to see you. But actually, the whole thing ends in the 3 years in the future. And it picks up from there and carries on. Which I think is what's great about it, because we've kind of all moved on from the teenagey kind of.
Oh yeah, the show gets immensely more dark as it goes along. I mean, kind of like how the Harry Potter films went from sort of this cheesy sort of. I'm
going to Hogwarts.
I'm going to Hogwarts. It's my first day of school sort of thing. I'm going to fucking kill you, Harry. Oh, just stuff like that.
Yeah, and I just think we need to kind of make this clear. Caroline is pregnant in the
she's pregnant
normal bit, and then 3 years in the future she's got toddlers.
She's pregnant before the 3-year gap. Yeah, that's probably something I should have mentioned.
So she's basically got toddlers in the flash forward.
Yeah, okay guys. Time to talk about the final season of the show. Season 8. And now this is probably one of the saddest seasons out of all of them. This is where the show comes to a close, and I didn't know what to do with myself after that.
I still don't. That's why I keep rewatching it.
Let's not distract from the fact that the characters such as Sybil and Celine, who are sirens,
Are annoying.
They're annoying, but their story's interesting because obviously they Sybil to begin with has Damon and Enzo in this kind of
trance.
This kind of trance, and Damon can't tell Stefan what's going on because all he can say is applesauce and penguins, brother, which has become like a code word for like me and Chelsea when we want to have secret conversations away from our parents. She's got applesauce and penguins, sister.
But yeah, I think this also, Sybil and Celine also tie back to the Armory because Sybil was locked in a vault for years and years, and they're very manipulative, sirens are.
She was very pissed when she came out.
Well, yeah, because apparently, like, she thought Celine had abandoned her, who was her sister. And yeah, when you think of sirens, you think of like mermaids and stuff, but actually sirens are more than just like mermaids. They're manipulators. They used to lure seamen to their death so they could
That's
eat
very true.
them.
I mean, personally, one of the most interesting like live action versions of sirens that I've seen, if you watch Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides,
Yeah.
you will see something similar to it, and that, it's terrifying, but obviously the sirens in this show don't look as creepy.
She's just got a weird Australian American thing going
Oh,
on.
Jesus. That was so distracting for me. Like, Chelsea didn't even notice this until I pointed it out, but Sybil, when she speaks in an American accent, I think her natural Australian accent will keep slipping out every now and then. So she'll be rolling her R's like this, and then eventually talk like that. I mean, I can't exactly do both accents at once. That was pretty terrible. But you get my point.
That was really terrible. But basically, we kind of find out that Cade is the devil.
Oh, Cade, yes. I mean, if you don't know who Cade is,
he's Arcadus.
Arcadius, or is it Arcadus?
Arcadius.
Arcadius. This guy who was, I think, tortured so badly or something.
He was set on fire for his telepathic abilities.
Oh, yeah. So I'm guessing he was a warlock or something.
No, he was just a telepathic.
And then eventually he became the devil.
Yes.
Now, hell in this, I mean, I'm glad they introduced, like, hell and the devil at the very end, because the biggest supernatural being in the world is, of course, the devil.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, that shows us that actually anything is possible in the world of Vampire Diaries and things like that, because it is that, like, hell is real, and they're trying to unleash hellfire, and there's the bell, and
yeah, that really interested me because obviously Matt
it actually gave Matt a storyline.
Matt at this point is a dick, and
Yeah,
this actually gave him a bit of character arc, because at first I was like, why is Matt still in the show? Like, what else can Matt bring to the table? And then obviously the subplot with his dad and the bell. You know, it's incredible stuff, the way Matt's just given, you know, you give a shit about Matt again.
Yeah,
a purpose, yeah, that he matters in this entire thing as well.
Yeah, exactly, because there's the whole... They're basically trading. Cade wants souls to torture in hell.
Yeah. Obviously, he tried to take Damon, didn't he? Or was it Stefan?
He basically wanted both. That's what kind of Celine and...
Which one agreed to go with him? I'm sure it was Damon.
Basically, Damon made the agreement with Sybil, who made it with Cade, that Damon and Stefan would give him souls.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Basically.
So it comes back to me when I ask these questions.
But Celine had set up Caroline and Alaric / Joe's kids.
Yeah.
Josie and Lizzie. They're siphoners.
Oh, yes, and I'm really interested to see what those little girls come of in future adaptations.
So
Can't ruin that, completely separate thing.
Celine basically set them up to make the deal that she didn't have to kill any more souls for him if he takes the girls. But
Yes,
Sybil's
exactly,
like, bitch, no, you left me in that vault to rot, so I'm going to make a deal with Stefan and Damon. And Stefan's like, oh, fair. sick. It's me again. I'm gonna have to leave
great?
Caroline again.
What's great about this season is that obviously, obviously Stefan and Caroline get married. That's beautiful. Finally, after like so long. But what interests me the most is like the kind of brother dynamic between Stefan and Damon. Obviously, Stefan's emotions are off again. Can't remember the specific reason why.
Because he knew for a fact that so he basically made another deal with Cade that if he killed so many bad people in a year, with his emotions off,
he'd be free, right?
He'd be free of his contract.
Okay, so anyway,
him and Damon.
That brings me back to it. Like, Damon tries to reassure Stefan that his ripper side isn't him, and that he can find his redemption. And that's what's beautiful about the entire thing, like the fact that these two characters have come so far since the beginning, not caring about each other. I mean, Stefan even said in season 1, I'm gonna have to kill him, as in Damon, his own brother. And then, as the season goes on, like he just can't do it anymore.
Well, exactly.
Their development is fantastic.
Definitely, and then Cade sets Sybil and Selene on fire. And
I know I haven't really spoke about Elena that much, but there's not really that much to say about her.
She's asleep.
Like,
she's having a nap.
I know. I mean, like in previous seasons, it's mainly just save Elena, save Elena. That's why I don't really like her character that much.
Yeah, and I think that's why I kind of like, even though some of the stories that aren't as good as probably season 2 or 3, it's not about Elena. It's actually about other people. It's about heretics. It's about Caroline being able to have a chance as a mother, despite the fact that she's a vampire. Vampires can't procreate.
Yeah.
Procreate. That's the word. And like, it's about Steroline and the fact that there's Bonnie as well.
Yeah.
Enzo.
Enzo. Oh God, Enzo. Poor Enzo. Yes, Enzo and
Enzo.
If in fact there's the death of two characters who I really liked in this season. Obviously, we get the death of Tyler at the hands of Damon. Obviously, I think Damon's emotions were off at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the death of Enzo as well,
Stefan,
which is an emotionless Stefan. And then what really annoyed me about the end of this season is that, okay, Bonnie is pissed at Stefan for obviously murdering Enzo, but it's never actually addressed of whether they made up or not. It sort of left it on, well, not a cliffhanger per se, but it just never explored it further to see if they'd ever be okay with each other again.
Well, they can't, can they?
I know, but it's just the way they left it. I didn't really like the way they left it. Maybe if they had like a little conversation, like, I don't know if I could ever forgive you. I don't know if I'll ever be your friend again. But I forgive you, something like that.
I think it was like a silent thing. The fact that she turned up for the wedding. Despite it.
Yeah, that was... Oh, it made me smile when I just saw her just pop up at that wedding.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing about it. But that's the other part of the deal that Stefan made with Cade when his emotions were off.
And what was that?
Cade went, if you go kill Elena, I'll free you from your contract.
Oh, and so he went to try
and he said the same to Damon. Damon, if you go kill Caroline.
So was Damon's...
Damon's emotions weren't off.
So Elena's coffin was kind of in that cabin when Stefan killed Enzo, right?
Yeah, Enzo was outside because Stefan had compelled the realtor to sign over the deeds to herself and then invited him in. So he was able to walk in.
So for those confused about this bit, vampires can't enter a house belonging to a human unless the human gives them permission to walk in.
But obviously, because of that, Enzo got sucked out the house, and then Stefan just basically like...
Yeah. And that was really sad. And
that was heart-wrenching, literally.
One more thing I'm going to get into this season, which bugs me, is the kind of plot hole at the very end of the show, when it's something to do with the cure. Like Elena takes the cure back in season 6.
Yes. So it's still inside her.
Still inside her. For some reason, Stefan turns into a human. Damon eventually becomes a human as well when it fast forwards to the future. But the thing is, if in the previous season, if you take the cure from someone, you start to age. That's what happened to Catherine. She took the cure and then started to age.
Yeah.
And that's it didn't really address like anything like that, and whether these people were died. Like Bonnie must have found a way around it or something with their magic, because it was never addressed again.
I think it's that, or they got it from somewhere else. They must have, because let's face it, the one that Elena took was from the 19... No.
Oh,
I think I've thought of something. Okay, sorry. Let me plan this out. Obviously, in the normal time, they've got the cure from Silas in the normal present time. Catherine had that cure.
Yeah, shoved down her throat.
Bonnie gave Damon a cure, which was from 1994.
Which was from the prison world.
Which was from Kai's prison world. So the other alternative is that they've gone to the 1930s prison world, which they don't just close because there's no one there. It must still be open. So they could have got it
That's
from
three
there.
cures: Elena, Stefan, and Damon.
Well, no, because Catherine's already had one. So there's the 1994 one and the 1930s one.
So there must be one more cure somewhere then.
So they must have got it from somewhere, unless they synthesised it with magic or something.
Then again, there's no telling how many prison walls there are, and there's probably a lot of fan speculations about it and fan theories.
I will Google this later.
If you have any... As I edit that out. If you have any fan theories about it, I'll be interested to know, if you let me know down below in the comments what you think about that. I'm sorry if my voice sounds a bit cranky now. I had a massive coughing fit and I had to cut it out.
But also we've got kind of like little cameos, like Kai comes back after stepping out of hell.
So weird seeing him. I mean, purposely, I don't think he had any place in this season, but it was
I
great
just found
seeing
it
him.
hilarious. He's so funny.
Yeah, we have obviously Catherine appear at the end, because Catherine is now the devil after Kay's destroyed by Stefan.
You got to remember, actually, Catherine was always the devil when she got sucked into it after season 5.
So Kay was never the devil then?
Well, he was until Catherine got there, and Catherine was like, "Bitch, you'll be my second." Because that's why they thought hell had been destroyed, and then it was all over. They can live happily ever after. They can try and wake.
It's never that simple.
Exactly. They basically thought it was all destroyed, but actually Cade was the second ruler in hell when Catherine turned up. And Catherine, she's the baddest bitch ever.
As perfectly quoted by Kai. And of course we have a little cameo from Klaus as well, which is amazing.
Yes.
And
right at the
obviously, Bonnie finds a way around like the big spell that Kai put on Elena's body and the link to Bonnie and Elena's life. Elena comes back, and there's a perfectly beautiful, heartwarming session of when, of course, Stefan obviously stops Catherine and the hellfire burns them both. So obviously, Stefan and Catherine die together, and
spoiler.
It was a sort of a little moment of his ghost or his essence in some shape or form, talking to Elena, and it was beautiful because it started off with those two just talking to each other.
I mean, it was just like, he was like, "It was good to see you one last time, Elena," and then he kind of like whispered in her ear, and we're like, "What the hell was that?" And then he walks out of the high school, and he's reunited with Lexi.
Lexi is one of the most awesome characters ever. I'm surprised I haven't mentioned it yet. But there's so much to discuss in this show, and obviously this video has dragged on for way over an hour now, and I've actually really enjoyed talking about it with you, Chelsea, so thank you very much for joining me.
No problem. I really like talking about the Vampire Diaries. I think it's obviously
I've noticed. I think like
that's grown.
Probably 70% of this podcast is you talking, and
sorry,
don't apologise. It's great. It's great. Anyway, so what we're going to do before we go is give you our quick ranking of each and every season. So at number 8 we have season 5.
At number 7 we have season 8.
Number 6 we have season 7.
Number 5 we've got season 4.
Number 4 we've got season 6.
Number 3 we've got season 3.
3 and 3. Second place we have season 1.
And the first place goes to...
drum roll.
Season 2.
Season 2 is definitely the best out of all the seasons. I mean, Klaus made that possible in some shape or form, to me anyway. So anyway, guys, it's been great talking about Vampire Diaries for way over an hour. I mean, still, I could talk about this show all night. there's probably bits and pieces which we have missed, but we just don't have the time or the space on my iPad's memory for this. So yeah, it's been great. So tell me, do you want more podcasts like this? Maybe not as long. If you think this is too long, if you think it's not long enough, you let me know down below in the comments. And as always, if you like what I do here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content just like this. Remember, you're awesome. Take care.
Bye.